Someone says rare, allocated, limited edition, Macallan and Bowmore. Yeah, I'm interested. Let's get to some first impressions. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey on the West Coast. My name is Matt, and today we're doing some more first impression sessions. A few weeks ago, I did some Bruichladdich first impression sessions, samples off of a virtual tasting I was part of. I was part of another virtual tasting tonight, one through Kensington Wine Market, my favorite whiskey provider in all the country of Canada here. They're located in Calgary. If you're ever going through Calgary, stop in at KWM. They do great things. This virtual whiskey tasting was all premised on the idea of FOMO, fear of missing out, because they had some hot, strictly allocated bottles in this virtual tasting. And oftentimes the only way I get to taste these is through these virtual tastings. And I figured, well, these are a lot of bottles that I'm probably not going to ever have a chance to purchase, but I can at least give you guys my first impressions of what these whiskeys are like. So in this video, I'm bringing you two of them that I tried tonight, which are the Macallan Harmony Edition number 2 Intense Arabica. This is the follow-up to their first one, the Rich Cacao. And then I am also going to give you some thoughts on the Bowmore Aston Martin Edition 2 22-year-old Islay single malt. These are both single malt Scotch whiskies. They both have a lot of fans, strictly allocated, very expensive, and a lot of people who are eager to get their hands on these bottles. So let's take a look at these. I'm also going to tell you, because I tried these bottles' predecessors last year, the Harmony Edition 1 and the Bowmore 21-year-old Aston Martin Edition 1. I'll give you some thoughts on how they stack up with their predecessors. Let's get to it. All right, first up on the docket, we've got the Macallan Harmony Edition number 2, the Intense Arabica. Now this is 44% alcohol. It's no color added, but it is likely chill filtered. So typical Macallan right here. The whole idea behind this one was it was inspired by Ethiopian Arabica coffee beans. And so they're going for, I'm guessing, a lot of those like dark chocolate, roasted malts, ground espresso, some leather and tobacco, those sorts of notes. They want to have evoked by this whiskey. And again, this is per their Harmony series. The first one that came out was the Rich Cacao, which I think was done in collaboration with Jordi Roca and was supposed to be very chocolatey. So let's see if the edition number 2 Harmony delivers on their premise. So right away on the nose, it just noses like typical modern Macallan. I'm picking up what seems to be, for me, like European sherry oak. Some light spicing. Maybe a bit of like a chocolate coffee thing, so maybe a touch of mocha, but not overwhelming, not like super obvious coffee notes here. It's sweet, definitely get orange on there. At first it's a touch of orange, but as it goes along, more and more orange. It's actually, it noses like a very delicate whiskey. Like I feel like if I added water to this whiskey, I would break it. It just feels that, not brittle, just delicate. Yeah, the other note that pulls through here, and someone else mentioned, was chai. So like a nice spiced chai tea, which I know is redundant, but yeah, chai notes for sure. Let's check out the palate. Starts off light, sweet, brown sugar, into some orange. There is some dark chocolate, and then it goes into spicing. So baking spices, cinnamon, and like a chocolate raisin sort of thing, like glacettes. Yeah, again, it feels rather run-of-the-mill modern Macallan. Let's take another sip. had to describe the viscosity, the body on this. It's bordering on thin, but it's still acceptable. If they bottled this at 40%, there would be no helping it, in my opinion. 44%, okay. They got it there. They got it across that line. It's acceptable, but it's close. It's real close. On the finish, malt, touch of chocolate, and then baking spices. The resolve is just some malty baking spices. I really have become quite the coffee fiend in the last few years. I never used to drink coffee. I actually had my first coffee in 2016 in Spain, and I've become a nut over it ever since. I was really wanting to find coffee, again, like just evoked by this whiskey. And while I get it a bit on the nose with that mocha vibe, and there's the chocolate on the palate, it's not screaming coffee to me, which is disappointing. I could probably trick my mind into it, but if I'm trying to be as neutral as possible, it's not there for me. Now, how does this stack up against, say, the last edition, the rich Cacao, Macallan Harmony? Honestly, I liked the first edition better. The first edition, it just seemed to pull together its premise a bit better for me, because I did get quite a bit of chocolate off that. Again, with all these sorts of notes too, of the oranges, the baking spices, a bit of leather and tobacco. I got those sorts of things off of the first edition. This one just seems more simplified and isn't quite as complex. On top of this is actually, it again went up in price in my area. I had a few chances to buy a bottle of this at about $240 Canadian, then taxes. It would have been over $260, probably $270 Canadian. I just didn't see the value there. So whereas I did purchase a bottle of the Macallan Harmony Rich Cacao, or Cocoa, again, I don't care to know how to say it. The first bottling, edition 1, I passed on this one, and I'm glad I did. This is fine whiskey, but it's overpriced, and there's just so much better out there. Sorry guys. On to the next whiskey. Let's check out this Bowmore. All right, onward and upward, let's say. Up next is the Bowmore Aston Martin Edition number 2, 22-year-old Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. This is their follow-up to the Edition 1, the 21-year-old from 2021, I believe. On the nose, there's that really nicely balanced peating. I've got some floral notes like lavender along with that peat. But it's rich in nature. I really like Bowmore peat done really well is really exquisite. I really enjoy that profile a lot. Yeah, it's very rich. It's fruity. There's some apricot. There's some spicing in there too. I'd say there's some leather in there as well. It's a really nicely balanced, full and complex nose. I could nose this for quite a long time. Unfortunately, the sample's small. It's on its last legs. Otherwise, I'd keep nosing it. All right, let's check out the palate. Rich, sweet peat with a grapefruit backbone, like dark dried fruits, like blackberries. Again, some of that like apricot in there. Touch ashy, but that lavender note pulls through it in small amounts. This isn't like 80s Bowmore here. The florals aren't dominating, but really elegant. Really just everything complements each other very well. Some of the specs on this Bowmore, I should mention, this is not 43% Bowmore 12, 15, 18. It's 51.5% alcohol, and it's, again, 22 years old, but it's got some overage whiskey in there as well, up to 25 years old. It's a vatting of casks from 1997. and 2000. They use American oak hogsheads as well as Oloroso sherry butts. Yeah, this is really good. I need another sip. This is a good Bowmore. Yeah, this is just really great. I could definitely be drinking this for quite a while. All the things I said already, I could probably dig into this for quite some time. Again, I wish I had a bigger sample. Hell, I wish I had a bottle of this. Again, this syrupy, kind of stewed, dark fruits come through on the finish. There's that tobacco, that leather, and that peat. And again, it's not an overwhelming peat. It doesn't steal the show from everything else that's going on. It's really nicely balanced. This is a delicious whiskey. Now comes the question, how does it compare to the last edition? And what is the price on this? So let me chime in on the price first. The price on this, the lowest I've seen for Canadian is $750 Canadian. Pardon? I've seen it as high as $850, $900 Canadian. No, thank you. No, I'll pass. I'll move on to something else, something that gets me nearly all the way to this, and do just fine, thank you. I'll remember the sample and enjoy it in my memories, much like I thought I would the Aston Martin Edition #1, the 21-year-old. So about that 21-year-old. That 21-year-old was not 21 years old. Okay, yes, minimum age statement was 21. But that 21-year-old was the whiskey last year that I regret not buying. That whiskey was unbelievable. By the time I actually had a sample of it, it was too late. That whiskey was not just 21 years old. It was made with parcels of, I believe, cognac finished or matured Bowmore from the 1980s. I believe like 1985, in and around that. It was amazing. And it had all those 1980s Bowmore hallmarks, which I love. I only discovered just within the last couple years, and I hunt them down. I seek them out. Man, this 22-year-old is good. Nothing against this. It's not the 21-year-old. Rob from Whiskey in the Six, I believe he named that 21-year-old Aston Martin Edition #1 his whiskey of the year, even though Ralphie wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. I regret not picking it up. I've passed on picking this up in my market at $750 Canadian. I'll continue to pass. And hopefully a couple years from now, I won't be looking back regretting having made the same mistake twice. With that said, guys, really interesting they get to try these sorts of whiskeys. Usually whiskeys I just don't have the cash to go ahead and purchase. And I'm really excited to be able to give you some thoughts and some feedback on them. Again, if you see a bottle of that 21-year-old Bowmore Aston Martin Edition 1, I'd say pick it up if it's at a reasonable price. The 22-year-old at the price it is, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not that legendary whiskey in my mind. This has been fun. I've got more first impression sessions to come to you. I wouldn't give these a rating just because that feels unfair to the whiskey. I've just spent a night with them. I don't feel capable to go ahead and assign them a score out of 100. So just know, Macallan Harmony Rich Cacao Edition #1, I found was a better overall whiskey. And again, sadly, the Bowmore Edition #1 Aston Martin 21-year-old, again, the better whiskey. But the Bowmore 22-year-old, no slouch. Thank you for joining me. If you've had any of these 4 whiskeys I've been talking about on this video, let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed them, if you similarly passed them up because they were too expensive and now regret it, or if you're perfectly fine never having tried these whiskeys. They're a bit of a luxury item, and I'm not sure that's the way I want my whiskey to go. Thanks again for joining me. If you can like, comment, share, and subscribe, it's really appreciated and helps a lot. Until next time, guys. Sláinte.